I seem to be scuffing a lot of my figures. I really hate myself for that. Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I have the 1/7 scale figure of Hunter from Bikini Warriors by Megahouse. When I first discovered this figure, I found that the character's design is so mesmerizing. She looks so cool, and the colors just attract me. I know nothing about this series, but what I know is that I really like this character design. I saw that there are other figures of characters from this series as well, but none of them looked as good as Hunter. Even though I wanted this figure, I realized that she's not that easy to find. However, I managed to snag one, together with the bonus item, which I believe is a poster featuring an illustration of this character. Anyway, I'm super excited to have this, and without further ado, let's open her up. I managed to find this figure on Surugaya, a Japanese shop which sells both new and second-hand anime merch. This shop is based in Japan, so a proxy is required to shop at this platform. Despite that, it's a great option to find figures at great prices. I managed to find this second-hand gem for around 18,000 yen, with the poster of the illustration of this character. In fact, I'm not even sure if she was second-hand, since she came in a sealed box with all the tape intact. I got this figure back in 2023, so it's been a while. This figure was actually released back in 2016, so given how gorgeous this looks, I was quite surprised to have found her at the price I paid. She was originally only 14,000 yen, so I only paid for a slight increase for this figure. For the box, it has a big window at the front showcasing the figure, even though it's an NSFW figure. Yes, she can cast off. As for the design, it's mainly green and brown like a forest, with photos of the figure on the box. The box is sturdy, but mine kinda looks aged. I got this figure with the bonus poster, which features a beautiful illustration of this character. This poster is printed on both sides, with the NSFW version on the other side. Well, sorry, it's been blurred. Moving on, opening up the box and taking the blister package out. This figure comes in not one, not two, but 3 blister packages, and strangely no instructions. First up, I have a very realistic looking arrow, as well as a very realistic looking bow, with an actual cable. Next, in the biggest blister package, I have the round base with some kind of forest context, followed by a plastic support rod which is thankfully clear. Next is the figure of Hunter herself, and she comes with a pair of arms which had been dislodged from the figure. Since this is second-hand, I'm not sure if this was meant to be, but since the box was sealed, I'm guessing it is. Anyway, next up, I have Hunter's leopard fur looking vest. And together with the custard off torso which I'm keeping in the blister package, here are all the components that came with this figure. Now, to assemble Hunter. Before I assemble her, I'll first take out all the remaining plastic sheets. She's actually a cast-off figure, and that's why there are so many sheets in between her joints. However, I prefer to display her with the clothes on. The colors are very attractive. She also comes with 2 separated hand parts, but I'm not sure if these were supposed to be connected in the box. Maybe they came dislodged during delivery. Okay, now that all the plastic sheets are out, let's put her together. First up is the vest. I need to detach Hunter's head in order to slot this vest in. After that, it's to put her head back on. And once that's in, I can slot her arm in next. Seems simple enough, but no. It's not so simple. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I had a very hard time inserting her arm, even though I can align the shapes of the peg on the arm and the hole on her torso. I feel that the vest is just in the way, and after a very long struggle, I managed to get the arm in. However, I am very sad to report that I had scuffed this figure. I wish I was more careful, but I'm honestly not sure how I could have avoided this, given how difficult this joint was to put in. I am so sad and will forever remember this tragic event. Unfortunately, there is nothing I can do but move on. Here is her other arm, and thankfully, this one managed to go in much easier. With that, the figure of Hunter is put together. Next up is the support rod, and this slots into the hole on the base. By right, this should be oriented correctly, but I'm doing this by try and error. Under Hunter's shoes, there is a hole, and this slots into the metal pack on the base. Concurrently, I have to adjust the support rod to ensure it supports the right part of this figure as Hunter goes into the pack. For me, she was a little bit off initially where the knife holster is in the way. I had to be careful not to scuff this as well. After adjusting the support rod, it should be supporting Hunter's thighs like so. With Hunter in the base, the next step is her bow. She comes with an alternative hand part which is holding the bow. So her original hand has to be removed first to slot in the alternative hand with the bow. Next is the arrow. The end with the feather slots into the slit between her fingers. I did this very gently to avoid scuffing anything. I've already been traumatized. On the other end, the rod of the arrow slots into the gap between the fingers as well. With that, I have the 1/7 scale figure of Hunter from Bikini Warriors by Megahouse fully assembled. The assembly process was quite terrible because I don't have the set of instructions and had to refer to MFC photos for reference. And even then, certain joints did not fit very well. It was so bad to the point that I scuffed her arm. It's not very obvious from her main viewing angle, but you know it's there. I seem to be scuffing a lot of my figures. I really hate myself for that. I wish the manufacturer paid a lot more attention to the joints because if it's tough to put in, it's tough to put in. The fact that it was dislodged from the box probably meant they had trouble putting it in the first place. But despite the flaws, this figure looks amazing. Zooming into the figure, the facial features and hair of this character is absolutely beautiful. I feel it looks a lot more like the illustration instead of the anime, which I prefer a lot more. She has a more softer look compared to the anime style, yet still looks like a tough girl. In my opinion, I think it's the eyes. It's just so well done. The sharp pupils makes her look so focused, and that 3 dots below her eyes are such a nice detail. The other eye, although covered by her fringe, is actually there. Besides her face, the arrow and hand sculpt is also very intricate. Although the bow is simply slotted into the very small gaps between her fingers, it's surprisingly sturdy. I moved this figure about here and there, yet the arrow never dropped once. Amazing. As for Hunter's hair, it's dynamically sculpted, flowing with the movement of Hunter's pose. The sculpt is quite detailed, especially the way the side hair tail is tied up. Together with the feather hair accessory, it's really nicely done. Sadly for my figure, her hair had some dark stains, perhaps from the previous owner. Maybe this figure had been displayed before, hence the stain, or maybe it's just a paint defect. Well, I'll never know. Anyway, moving on, Hunter is adorned in a simple blue polka dot bikini that contrasts really well with her skin color. She comes with many small pouches strapped tightly to her thighs, emphasizing a very nice thigh sculpt. There is also a red tube on her back, and I must warn, this piece is attached to the figure quite loosely by thin straps, so I feel it can be easily torn off the figure. Other than that, it's actually very nicely shaded and neatly painted. On the front, since Hunter only has a bikini, her torso is exposed, and I must say, it's very nicely sculpted. The ribs are slightly visible with a very nice belly shape. The shading is also done very well, giving emphasis to the nicely sculpted body. I am quite impressed by Megahouse for this. Besides the body sculpt and equipment, Hunter also has glossy blue socks and arm armor. I'm not sure what it's called, but those are really nicely detailed, especially the arm armor, which has additional weapons that are very neatly sculpted and painted. Sadly, this is not 100% the case for the fur on her sock. There seems to be some paint transfer from the blue socks to the white fur. I think this is more a QC issue than a secondhand figure issue. Last but not least, at the bottom of the figure, I have the base. Hunter is floating above a round base with a forest-like terrain. It even has some realistic looking logs. A great effort, I must say, for the base design. Sadly, there is a support rod, which I feel is inevitable considering the potential laying issues this figure has. Even more sadly, it was kinda hard to set this figure into the base considering the position of the support rod. It had to be constantly adjusted as the figure goes into the pack to ensure this support doesn't damage the figure. But once it's in, it seems really stable. All in all, in terms of the pose, the details, and the use of an actual arrow with a cable, I would highly recommend this figure, especially if you can get her at a reasonable price. Who knows, maybe someone else scuffed a figure like me and is selling her for second hand at a good price. And that's all for today's video. I've never seen Bikini Warriors, but I don't care. This is definitely one of my favorite figures in my collection. If only I didn't scuff her. I feel so horrible about that. Sobs. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think. I feel this is quite an underrated figure and I'm really happy to give her a shout out. If you enjoyed what you saw, do leave a like and subscribe with notifications to stay tuned to more videos. Until then, I'll see you next time. Bye bye!